today's was pretty interesting because we had a visitor come in from Tampa. They're always interesting, but it was even cooler today. And then we do this panel, and I asked board members who can make it, even though some of them, you know, they speak in front of you. You think you're nervous speaking in front of people, they're nervous speaking in front of you because you are the brilliance of the future. So, yeah, it's true, Elliot. And so the panel stays, and Elliot Falcione, who is a longtime senior member of our board.
Two Italian guys.
That's all good, right?
He's shorter than me.
And so Elliot will moderate questions. Now, to my students, normally I read all your questions in advance, but I had the board meeting all morning this morning, and even though I love you, they have to be in at 11:59 last night. I wasn't going to start reading your questions at 11 last night. So
how much wine?
You were watching some shows on TV, right?
It was some wine,
yeah,
some wine.
Poirot.
Yeah, Poirot.
So what I'm going to challenge my class to do is to really be vocal. So Elliot has some questions prepared, but I need each person, all the people in my class, I want you to raise your hands. Up high. Okay. And you're going to ask questions. They have their name tags in front of them.
Awesome.
It's all good. And so we're going to turn this over to Elliot. Wow, we have
1:15.
1:30.
Great.
Okay, yeah, we can go to 1:30. Okay, and so when he starts asking for questions, you people are all right. Going to get. And remember, if you don't ask questions, Uncle Pat's going to see these. So
And we are live. We are recording.
oh, we're live. Okay.
Yeah. See, I told you. Remember?
That means
Probably not good to threaten the kids while you're on live.
No.
that means parental discretion is advised.
So I want to introduce Elliot Falcione. Elliot is the CEO of the Bradenton Tourism and Development Commission, of the Convention and Visitors Bureau, and of the Powell Crosley Estate, among many other things. And so he is going to lead us in this, and I think you'll introduce him.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Welcome,
And
everybody.
welcome to to Vice Chancellor Brett Standing.
Oh, hey, Brett.
Hey, Brett.
How are you, sir?
Hello.
Good.
Welcome.
I thought you were Pat's Secret Service. Yes, that's probably for another day. So glad to see all the hospitality students. Incredible opportunity to be able to listen to these successful executives, entrepreneurs. You know, there's that adage, if you learn one thing in a class, it's worth being here. So like Dr. Pat said, keep your focus, engage, ask some candid questions, some bold questions. We really want it to be all about you. But I'll interject some questions just to kind of build the momentum. We're going to do quick introductions with our esteemed panel, starting with Mr. Fishman.
I'm CJ Fishman. I work for a company called Fishman Associates, which I started 34 years ago. We're on the other side of the business. We design and lay out commercial kitchens for hotels, hospitals, schools, churches, country clubs, all kinds of colleges, universities. We're based in Venice, just because that's where I wanted to live and raise my family. And as I said, we're going into our 35th year.
CJ, we gotta be done by 1:30.
Yes.
I actually got to leave at 1, so you guys will get about 6 minutes. But anyway, that's what I'm about. Thank you, now that I've been rushed.
Should I follow that up? Go.
Just tell them to be curious, Ken.
So my name's Ken Edwards. I own Tristar Hotel Group in Scottsdale, Arizona, and Hospitality Online, which is an e-learning company. And I've been on the board for about 3 years now. And also, I'm a student at USF. I'm getting my master's in hospitality. And I zoom in from Phoenix every Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday.
Rumor is Ken's on academic probation, Dr. Pat?
No, he actually is a TA, and for those of you who are interns in here, you have him to thank for those ebooks that I made you read.
That's right.
Awesome. Miss Juli.
So good afternoon. I'm Juli Corlew, and I'm with MainSail Lodging and Development. We're a hotel operating company and development company based out of Tampa, and we have hotels mostly working in the autograph and tribute systems with Marriott, and our hotels are along the Gulf Coast. We're
the director at Manatee Technical College and just started this fall hospitality and tourism program at the college. We offer dual enrollment to high school students so they can start that program young, and we are working with SCF and USF for an articulation in the pathway of hospitality and tourism.
I'm Virginia Hayley. I'm president of Visit Sarasota County. We are the tourism promotion agency for all of Sarasota, from Longboat to Venice to Northport and everything in between.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Damien. I'm the general manager of the Ritz-Carlton here in Sarasota, and that includes our hotel, our beach club, our golf club. We also have 3 residential components, soon to be 4 residential components. And I've worked for the Ritz-Carlton for the last 16 years, and I've been here in Sarasota for the last 6 years.
I'm John Horne. I have the Anna Maria Oyster Bars in Bradenton. We have 4 restaurants, one just north here, one on the island, Ellington, and somewhere Cortez. So I've got the first question. So for all of you, today is October 15th. What does that mean in Florida?
Very common.
Beg your pardon?
Very common.
That's right.
I don't think that's just Florida, though. Anybody know?
Season starts.
Pardon?
Season starts? No. Well, it is a
But
season.
it is a season.
It is a
Yesterday was
season.
Thanksgiving Day in Canada, by the way.
Again, we're in Florida. We're having trouble with that. Stone crab season starts today. So in the seafood business, big day in Florida. So the traps are coming out of the water. So hopefully we'll have a good crop this year. Great time to eat.
Great.
I hope my crabbers are getting some today so I can have some tonight.
I'm Jeff Parsons. I'm at IMG Academy, and I'm the director and general manager at the IMG Academy Golf Club, and also oversee our campus dining operation, our 4 outlets. And I try to steal a little bit of John's business from around the corner up on 41.
They stop by
We
there
do.
all the
We
time.
get a bunch. Yeah, we get a bunch.
We're going to start with Virginia Hayley. Virginia, like she mentioned, promotes Sarasota County for tourism. I'm her counterpart for Manatee County, but you know the hospitality industry is supported by residents, but even more so visitors. So Virginia, if you could just start off, give a quick overview of how your organization is formed. It's a 501c6 and it's a membership bureau compared to a department of the government.
And you're right, the tourism boards across the U.S., and you see a lot of it internationally, are generally formed here in Florida. The voters have to approve it the very first time. And you're basically collecting a tax on the visitors who are staying in hotels or renting condos in a community, and that money is then reinvested into tourism promotion and capital assets that encourage promotion. For instance, one of the big ones we invested in was with the Nathan Benderson Park in Sarasota that has allowed us to attract major international rowing events, triathlons, all kinds of events at that facility. And you see lots of different ways tourism organizations are formed. Some just represent a city. Some, like our 2, represent a whole county. Some are part of government. In our case, we're an independent organization, and then we contract with Sarasota County government with the funds collected from visitors. But whether it's paid for by a visitor or a resident, these are public tax dollars. So we're always mindful of the way we spend these dollars because we've got to do it transparently. We need to do it in a way and promote our communities that make our local residents proud, our elected officials. So that's something that's maybe a little different than a hotel, but a hotel, it might be about your brand and your owners. For us, our owners are the residents of our community, I'd say.
And then take it a step further for us, Virginia. Both of our destination marketing organizations are accredited. I think we're 2 out of 1,300 in the world that are accredited. What does that mean to the students, and how important is it to be accredited for your stakeholders?
You know, many businesses have accreditation. You know, nurses associations, colleges, universities. For us within the destination world, accreditation is important. I just mentioned these are public dollars. So you want to make sure you're using them in the wisest way possible. By going through accreditation, you're looking at your travel policies, your financial policies, how do you do your strategic planning, how do you build a marketing plan every year? Are you just going off sending press releases, or do you actually have a communication plan and way to measure what you're doing? So it really helps us take an internal look at what we're doing, constantly get better at what we're doing, and then, as Elliot said, it's a heck of a process. Ugh.
So it's really, really thick.
It's really, really thick. Luckily, it's online, not like the old days with the notebooks. But we're really, really proud of it, to have our two destinations. I think there's 250 organizations internationally that have this accreditation. I think it says a lot about the commitment to excellence and challenging yourself.
And I think in Virginia, and I've never been the types that we're looking for medals on our shirts.
Yeah.
But it's important for the industry, the elected officials, the people that we really serve, know that we know what we're doing. We understand best practices in our industry. That's really the meat of why it's important to be accredited. And then after 5 or 7 years, you got to go through the reaccreditation process as well. So important. You'll learn a lot through that process. Let's segue to Ken. Ken's came in from Scottsdale, Arizona, just to be here for the board meeting and the students, aside from him being a student himself. But Ken, being a hotel owner and understanding the importance of hotel management, technology is changing every day, and you as students have your core classes, your electives. How important is a student coming out of college being savvy with technology? And could that, if they are, could that fast track them into growth in the industry?
Two concepts. First, it's the future, and second, it's here. So artificial intelligence and machine learning is absolutely here in revenue management, robotics, and almost everything that you see in business. Smartphone technology is allowing us to enter a room with using our phone. So artificial intelligence, if you're going to take courses in it, it is definitely the future, not just in the hospitality industry, but just in our world that we live in. We have, 3 robots that are relay robots right now. We just ordered our 4th one. And the 4th one is actually going to be a robot that vacuums, so that you don't have a person vacuuming hallways and so on and so forth. So artificial intelligence is a very important aspect of what you'll be looking at in the future. Revenue management in the next year or two will be completely artificial intelligence driven and machine learning driven. And we'll be making choices for your rates at your hotel without a lot of human activity. So I would say that artificial intelligence, machine learning is something that everybody should start paying attention to.
Juli, a segue to you. You know, he mentioned robots. You could have a robot come to your hotel room door to deliver something. Could that compromise customer service? Isn't it advantageous? You have a great brand that you manage.
So I think that it does. It's an evolving process, and it really depends on what the client is looking for, and our clients are changing as well. So we're having to adapt in our industry to what the clients are looking for, how they want to be interacted with. Some of our older clients may not be as comfortable with having the robotics, and then we have the boomers that are also looking for the newer technology. So it really depends on making sure that whatever a brand is, that we're not making it too much we're not forcing the technology, but providing the technology that people are comfortable with and that they want to experience.
You know I was going to come right to you. Ritz-Carlton has that brand of elite customer service. I assume you have a young workforce within the Ritz-Carlton
Yes.
system. Are you having trouble with technology, too much of the textings, too much of the email, where they're not having that face-to-face interaction with the customer like you probably had 15 years ago? Is it a challenge or no?
You know, I don't think it is. I find myself now that I'm the dinosaur, ladies and gentlemen, when it comes to technology. My kids kind of show me how to operate the simple things. But I think it's a big part of all of our lives, and what we're finding for our guests is that a lot of our guests are now tech savvy. So we've got our Bonvoy app, and we've got about 140 million Bonvoy members who are loyal to our brand, and a lot of them are able to use the app. And what we're finding now is that a lot of our guests, when they're traveling on business, is they like to be able to do things like the mobile check-in. When they've checked in, as soon as they've landed at the airport, and in about a month's time, we're actually going to have the mobile check-in at our resort. So it means that our guests will be able to check in remotely. The room number will be sent to their room as soon as their room will be ready, and they will be able to bypass the front desk and go straight to their room. Now, if you said that to me 2 or 3 years ago, I would have said absolutely not. A guest would not want that, a Ritz-Carlton guest. But then, as I noticed myself, when I'm traveling for business, that suits me perfectly. I landed at the airport. I was in Chicago a few months ago. I checked if my room was ready. It wasn't. I was getting my Uber to the hotel. My room was ready. I was able to go to the elevator and straight to my room. So as a business traveler, it was great. If I was traveling with my children, I'd probably want to go through that whole experience. But for our guests who are traveling very regularly, they want to get to their room as quickly as possible. Also, we've got mobile chat now for our guests, and some guests, yes, still prefer to use the telephone. I'm one of those dinosaurs, I suppose. But what we see is our guests of all different ages, is some of our guests now are simply more comfortable communicating with mobile chat. And I was on a call last week, and we always talk at Ritz-Carlton about the phone being answered in 3 rings. And when we get to mobile chat, it's just as important that we respond to our guests in a very, very timely manner. And that can be for very simple things. It can be an in-room dining order, it can be additional pillows to their room, it can be assistance with reservations. So we see it on a smaller scale at the moment, but we're definitely seeing that our luxury customer is looking for that more and more and more as time goes by, because they just find it so convenient. So with our Bonvoy app, it's able to do all of those things for our members, and we find that a lot of them are embracing it pretty quickly, which also surprised me. But I think luxury service is still luxury service. It's that personal interaction that you're going to have with your guests during their stay. But a lot of the time, sometimes what they want for the simple things, they really just want to do it online because they're more comfortable, whether they're sitting at the beach club and they want something sent to their room rather than picking up the phone or going to speak to somebody about it. And then of course there's that luxury interaction which we always pride ourselves on, but a lot of times thinking about what does the guest want, what is most convenient to them. I don't know all of you, but I just got the new upload on my phone. I don't know what is upload on my iPhone, and it tells you how long you're on your phone every day, and I get kind of shocked when I see mine. So it just kind of goes to see about what a big part it is of people's lives now, not just work, but also in their spare time, but also how they use it for travel as well.
Can I make one comment?
Yes, sir.
You know, what we're seeing is crazy in the last 2 years that wasn't there 3 or 4 or 5 years ago, is connectivity in the hotel. So if you have a 200-room hotel and you have a family of parents, 2 parents, and a family of 2 or people, you might enter that room with 10 devices. I carry 2 cell phones and a Surface, so on and so forth. Imagine a 200-room hotel having 2,000 devices connected at the same time to your wireless internet. Now, 4 or 5 years ago, the idea was you'd have one wireless or one device connecting, so you'd have 200 devices. So that's put a big strain on the hotel business and its bandwidth, not necessarily streaming, but the connectivity. You're gonna see more of that. The consumers are bringing their home to the hotel. They're watching Netflix, they're watching all kinds of Prime, Amazon on TV at the hotels. So all of us are making that change. at a Hilton product, to put that into a guest room is about, overall for a 150 room hotel, it's about $120,000. And that's mandated that you have to have that by January 2020. Now imagine if you own 10 hotels, that's $1.2 million that you have to invest into your hotel just for consumer technology.
Great,
For
thank you.
something that you don't see.
For something
But
you
know
don't
when,
see.
you know when it's missing.
But when it's missing.
The customer knows it's missing.
Right.
Yes.
Just kind of a little digging into customer service and weighing it against technology. And I'm gonna ask CJ, who's been a very successful entrepreneur for many, many years. This is a weird question, but you wanna thank somebody for doing something for you. Is it just as effective to send that person an email thank you? Or is it more effective to do the handwritten thank you like we used to do 15, 20 years ago?
So that's a really good question. I just came from a meeting this morning and we were talking about that with other CEOs. I agree with technology. It's unbelievable. It's a great tool. Sometimes I don't think it's an asset, sometimes, but most of the time it's tremendous, but there's nothing ever that's gonna beat this. So the best way to thank somebody is go up and look them right in the eye and shake their hand and tell them you appreciate them. It's a pleasure to work with them. You're honored to have them as a client. The second best thing to do is pick up the telephone and talk to them over the phone. The third worst thing to do is send them an email and thank them, because, and this is my philosophy, emails are the most impersonal way of communication that there is. It's the quickest, but it's impersonal. I can't read you if I'm not looking in your eye. But if I'm not, the best thing is if I'm talking to you, because I can tell by your voice inflections, okay? But an email, I can't tell anything unless you send it back and say, I really don't like you anymore, don't call me. Then I know I'm in trouble, right? Okay, so nothing's ever gonna beat what we're doing today. And nothing's ever gonna beat, and this is the thing I would tell you guys come up in this world. Where your advantage is gonna be is to embrace technology and be tech savvy, but where your real strength's gonna be is if you are looking somebody in the eye and can talk to somebody and can communicate, you'll be further ahead than anybody that's just looking down on their phone. So if you have it both, it's tremendous. But never ever think that customer service can ever be beat by just physically going up and shaking somebody's hand and telling them personally how important they are to you.
I'll clap for that.
Dr. Valerie, you're an educator. You agree with CJ? What are your thoughts on that subject?
Absolutely, because often an email can be misread. You want to say something that you're really excited about, you put the exclamation points. If you want to show you're mad, you put red. So there is nothing better in customer service than to give that one-on-one time to an individual and have that face-to-face and have the customer service part of the hospitality. It is faster, it is more convenient to do the quick send. You can get a whole lot more done in a short period of time, but I would save that for the details, but those initial contacts, really it's important for that first one-on-one.
Yes, sir, CJ.
So in our company, we adopted some of this from the Ritz. We have a 3-ring rule. We always say it's our pleasure. It's my pleasure. These are things that are, and we mean it, and it's universal. But we have talking about customer service. Our philosophy is it's best to communicate with the client, especially if there's a challenge in person. The second best is on phone, and the only time you email is to confirm. So you have a conversation and you confirm it by email. That way, when you confirm it by email, both parties know what you're confirming. And that's what we say. So we communicate in person or by phone, confirm an email. And now, certain times emails are quick and they're easy, and somebody wants a yes or no answer. Is this in stock or is it not? That's an easy thing to do. I tell you pick up the phone and tell somebody that something's in stock, they're like really shocked you picked up the phone. That gives you that one more customer interaction. So, thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. Go ahead, John.
I have note cards on my desk. I probably average 3 notes a week. It takes about 5 minutes to write a note. Everybody thinks, oh my God, it's gonna take me an hour to send somebody a note. If you've got everything ready, it takes you 5 minutes to write a note. It doesn't have to be 1,000 words. Just write thanks for whatever it is. I mean, I write people congratulation notes on an accomplishment that they've done. Just acknowledge. The worst thing you can do is not acknowledge. I mean, I agree. I don't like emails for an acknowledgement or something like that. Set yourself up, write a note, find 5 minutes, and you're like, holy cow, that's all it takes. You just gotta say thanks and acknowledge it. And it goes, I can't tell you how many people come up to me and thank me for sending them a note. I saw Faizan, I sent him a note. Now, it wasn't handwritten, but I sent Faizan a note, and he had it posted on he just got a tremendous award, and he had posted it on Facebook. You know, it means the world to people that you acknowledge their accomplishments.
I'm gonna go to Jeff here in a minute. I got what John just said. I like writing handwritten notes when I can. Guess what my concern is? I don't write very often. So can they read what I'm writing? Because we get sloppy. Yeah, really, really true. So remember that if you send a note, make sure that people can read what you're writing. As silly as that sounds. Jeff, you live and work in one of the most multicultural environments in the region, if not the world. And your objectives as an organization is thank you for the great work, staff. Now we want 20% better, and we want 20% over and above that. Or what we talking about, is that realistic in your world, dealing with all the different cultures in your environment?
So sometimes we like to say it might not be realistic for us to hit all of our 20%ers, but yeah, we're in the retention business, and whether it's golf business, whether it's the academy business, whether it's with our students, whether it's with our team training business, whether it's our event business, whatever it is, we're really in the retention business. So everything we do to increase our retention, whether it's going over and above a client's request, whether it's providing part of a scholarship for maybe a family who's got maybe 2 children that are thinking about coming to the academy. Any and above those things that we can do, they all fit in the piece of the puzzle of what we're trying to do, is how we try to recruit. And I did want to go back, one of the things that Ken talked about with the robots and such, I actually probably may not remember, but and I don't get to these that often, but about 2 years ago, I actually asked him after he met, I said, I want to know more about the robot, because we were getting ready to embark on our hotel. And I said, I thought that was a pretty innovative idea, and it was an intriguing idea. And from our standpoint, I liked it because from the academy standpoint, we try to do some different things and do pieces differently. And I thought that was an interesting platform to provide. If I could have figured it out for the golf business, I would have tried to accommodate it as well. And to that point, though, one of the things that we've looked at is from a convenience factor, how do we check in our guests? And I'm talking about our golf guests, guys that are coming to play golf. How do we check them in literally right as they drop their clubs off? And is that a feasible piece of our operation? And we always get to, yes, it's feasible, yes, boy, we like that. And then I go, okay, but now we prevent the guy from going into the golf shop, buying golf balls, buying sunscreen, buying 2 Gatorades before he goes, buying, a golf glove, a hat, whatever. And I said, so there's that piece of that convenience that I go, yes, it's nice, but yet it prevents us from maybe capturing some incremental dollars from our guests and clients. But also back to what CJ said, technology. And I just hired a girl from Florida State as an assistant banquet manager.
We forgive you.
I was going to say, really? Get all the candidates from
Well, I couldn't hire her from Ohio State. I couldn't find anyone from Ohio State, so.
You're making a war.
Go Buckeyes.
That's right. But the two things for me that sort of she stood out was the fact that she was technologically advanced, that she could do some pieces for us and help create some things for us that you know, might take me, you know, shit, I don't know, 2 days, 3 hours, who knows, but she could kind of do it like that. But she also had the personality, and she was able to communicate and talk and sell and interact with our clients. And those were the two pieces for me that really stood out with her, because you can never, you can only look at your phone and talk on your phone and text on your phone so much. At some point in time, you still have to have interaction with the individuals.
Awesome. Thanks, Jeff. Virginia, very successful career in Washington, D.C., I think during the Clinton administration.
No, going back farther.
Or we'll just call it Clinton administration. You're on the board for Visit Florida, the state agency that promotes the state for tourism. How important is it to monitor the laws in the hospitality industry, how our tourism tax is spent? A lot of times we're kind of reactive and not on the offense. With you being savvy in state and local government, you know, how do you stay on the offense? And we're bringing this up because you're seeking a degree in hopes to be in a management position in the hospitality industry or greater, okay? So whether you like it or not, you're gonna have to interact with local government, state government, maybe federal government, and how do you artistically communicate with those governments to keep the laws in line to make our industry successful?
Well, and sadly, that was going back to President Reagan's era, so I've really dated myself. And I do remember I became head of Visit Sarasota 20 years ago. I remember a lot of my friends saying, oh, you must be so happy to be out of politics and doing the tourism promotion thing. And I would say my job is 85% involved in elected officials, policy making in some way or another. And you think about it, you're a hotel, and you luckily still read the news in some way, and you see a little article that the State Department of Transportation has decided to shut down the entrance to your hotel for 1.5 years while they build a roundabout. Or that they're, you know, changing a traffic pattern and changing an interstate access, so no, you can't get to your hotel or restaurant anymore. That happens in the real world all the time. The best thing you can have is a relationship with your local officials that you've built over the years, so that you can pick up that phone and say, gee, Mayor so-and-so, how's this happening? Can we get a meeting to talk about a solution? How are we going to work through this? Because if the first time an elected official hears from you is when you're in the middle of the crisis, you're probably not going to get very far. So building up those relationships, keeping those relationships. You don't have to be involved in the politics itself. You don't have to get involved with giving money to campaigns, but inviting the elected officials to your restaurant, inviting them to your hotel, letting them meet the employees. They love it. They love it. But making sure you have those relationships, because it will touch you in some unexpected way. And then there are the big picture things, like Visit Florida losing half of their funding and now facing the fact the legislature may let them totally shut down by the end of next June. The #1 tourism state in the United States with no tourism promotion. Because there are people in this world who think if you build it, they will come. They haven't heard about what Georgia's doing, what California's doing. So it really, even with that relationship building, you can have these political crises coming up that, as you said, you're behind the 8 ball. You weren't working out in front of the issue, and you're stuck reacting to it.
And whether it's Tallahassee or Washington, D.C., lobbyists, what role do they play, and how important is it to have your own lobbyists?
Well, I think to rely on a lobbyist, I mean, most of the major, in our area, we have the Florida Restaurant Lodging Association. They kind of act as our umbrella organization, as destination marketing organizations. We have an office in Tallahassee because they are there every day of the week. it's one thing if we all go to Tallahassee for Tourism Day 1 day a week, but you need someone who's there every week, working your issues, keeping an eye on your issues, noticing that 3 words were added to a bill that could really hurt your bottom line and your revenue.
Thanks, Brianne. Ken, you look like you have a thought.
I do. I just want to change the subject for a minute, and I do this almost every time. Don't
Yes,
I?
sir.
So if you're going to learn anything this year, take this back with you. Stay the course. What does that mean? So many people don't stay the course. They quit. It's too hard. They say, too much risk, or the timing wasn't right. So in school and in business, you have to stay the course. Steve Jobs used to call it being a grinder. To get a product from point A to a selling product, you have to grind it every day. And what he was saying was you have to stay the course. So sometimes when you think you might want to drop the class, sleep less, study more, stay the course. When there's something that someone says you can't do it, but you think you can, stay the course. And that will be something that you should take away from this class and this year that you should take with you everywhere. If it's in a personal relationship, stay the course. It's really a simple thing. I think I've said it 3 or 4 times. So if you stay the course and you don't quit because there's too much risk or that it's too hard, and they always say, everyone I ever speak with, they say, the timing wasn't right. Someone once said to me that 95% of the people are followers and 5% are leaders. That's not the case. 95% of the people just do not stay the course. So stay the course.
Great words of wisdom. CJ has to leave shortly, so I'm going to segue. Ken gave me a good segue. A lot of times we don't stay the course is because what we think we may want to do in our careers, the blood's not flowing, but we're really not sure. CJ, you've now been an entrepreneur for a lot of years. When did it click for you when you knew that what you're doing today is good for CJ, get your blood flowing, where you wake up every day and say, now I found my calling?
Well, I don't think I found my calling yet, because way Elliot talks about me, I'm going to be keeling over in about 4 minutes. But I think the word, and I think Ken didn't use this word, but it's part of that, it's passion. There's nobody that's sitting up here, or people in business. You can tell people really like doing what they're doing by the passion when they talk. I think you get it in my voice when I talked to you earlier about keeping eye contact and shaking hands and that passion. And you really should never be measured when things are easy, because life isn't easy, business isn't easy, there's challenges. John has them in his restaurant every day, Damien has them with his clients. You have the best procedures and things in place, and sometimes things don't go exactly right. But you should really measure yourself by how you handle those challenges. And the only way you can handle challenges, I never use that P word, by the way, you can figure out what that word is, but the way you handle challenges and the way you make it work is by your passion. You want to embrace a challenge. You want to solve that challenge. And you've got to have that passion. And every day if you get up and you want to go to work, even if it's a tough day and you got to stay the course, if you have the passion, this is what you love to do. I do what I love to do. If you don't love to do it, don't stay the course. Okay? That's the only thing I would say to Ken. If you don't love it, you don't feel it, if it's just a job to you, and maybe that's okay for you. That's where you are in your life. But if you have passion, you're going to excel. And the minute you start to lose that passion, okay, you got to have passion for being in this class, whether you were responsible to be here or not. You all still showed up. That's passion. Okay, take it to the next level of entrepreneurship. Every day John goes to work, he's managing a lot of people, or Damien, or anybody up here. It's the passion. Don't ever forget that. And that's how I motivate every day. I get up in the morning and I tell our associates too, if I don't have the passion, I can't expect you to have the passion. But if you don't have the passion to want to be here at our company, then you need to find somewhere else. Life's too short. Because life's too short, because it can change on a dime. So
John, CJ called you. You want to?
Yeah.
Yes, yes,
I have a question for CJ before he leaves.
absolutely. Thank you.
As someone who's built his own business, what's one piece of advice you would give someone that wants to build their own?
Stay in school and live off your parents. Don't do it. That would be my first advice. But if that's not feasible, then I would say my advice to you would be like a sponge. Soak up everything from everybody. Whether you like them or don't like them, you can always learn from somebody. And then the other thing I would say is find a niche. I mean, everybody in this room is incredibly intelligent. Everybody I'm looking at out there is incredibly intelligent. And find a niche, something that makes you one little bit, or that you do, that you feel, that passion. And then exploit that niche, use it. But the other thing is learn from everybody. You learn more when there's a challenge than you do when it's easy, right? Positive or negative. So embrace that and learn from it, and you'll be fine. And you'll be more than fine. That would be my advice.
And he's 100% right. You can learn from bad examples as well as you can learn from good examples. My dad always said no one's useless. It can always serve as a bad example. But the other thing that a guy I worked with for a long time said, you can only coast one way, and that's downhill, right? So never take your foot off the accelerator. You know, the bike will eventually stop, and you'll fall down. So never coast. You can't say, man, everything's going great. You take the eye off the ball, you take your eye off your business, and it will eventually stop and fall over. So don't ever coast. Just always remember that. Keep pushing. That's the whole key.
John, if I can recall, you went to Clemson.
Did I tell you that once before?
We won't talk about your
the last couple of years. I've been saying that to everybody.
Yeah. I think you went to Clemson with the mindset of doing a different career. What made you change your mind, and how did you end up where you're at?
Beer drinking wasn't a profession.
Yeah. We didn't have a beer drinking class back there. The fact that I had to take so much science to become a doctor was a big deterrent. So my pre-med career didn't last very long. I flunked freshman chemistry, and I think I had a 1.76 my first semester. So that's not really good to get into med school.
We were surprised it was that high.
Everyone out there is really glad you never got into med school.
I exempted the final in calculus. It's the only thing that brought it up. I had a 4 in calculus. Thank God. And then I was pre-law for another semester after that. But then I started working in a restaurant. I started a job as a busboy at a restaurant out on Anna Maria Island. And just what they've all said, you find your passion, and it was overnight. So I went back, I changed my major for the 42nd time to administrative management and finished. So I don't even have a hospitality degree, I have a business degree. So just took basic business courses. You find your passion, and next thing you know, the door's wide open, and you've got your foot on the accelerator, and you're just hauling ass right to where you want to get to. And I've never worked a day in my life.
What about risk?
Not one. A lot of risk, but you learn off of someone else's first. I worked for a guy for 10.5 years. We had 7 restaurants. I opened 5 of his restaurants. I worked on his dime. It's awesome to make mistakes when somebody else is paying for them. That's the best mistake you ever want to make, is somebody else is paying for them. I don't like when I have to pull out of my pocket to pay for my stupidity. So I tried to get as many dumb things out of the way as I possibly could. You'll make a bunch of mistakes. If you're not making mistakes, if I have managers that are not making mistakes, I don't want them. Why? They're not making decisions, right? You should make mistakes. You should make bad decisions. That's the ones you learn the most from, is the bad decisions. So you've got to take risks.
This is on video. We can show our parents that.
Absolutely.
Don't show them the one about staying in school forever.
It's on Facebook. Too late.
I'm gonna ask one more question, and then I'm gonna ask the class for a question, and I'm gonna go to Juli. Juli, this class has applied for a job with you. They all have similar work experience. They all have similar education. What would separate someone from the competition in an interview?
So that's a great great question, and it's very appropriate because it happens quite regularly, although a lot of times I'll have somebody who has two people that have perhaps equal experiences, and on paper, they look very, very similar, so the resumes are very, very similar, and then I have a meeting with both of them. The decision-making piece of it is how I perceive their passion to be, going, a very common theme here, how I perceive their passion to be about the industry or about the position or about our company. So if they come in, they don't know anything about our company, I don't really think that they're very interested in the job. If they don't come in prepared for it, or if they don't have any excitement or any enthusiasm when we're having our conversation, then I'm not going to choose them for the job.
Okay. Damien, what are your thoughts on that?
I think for me, it's absolutely its passion. You know, we have, when we go through our orientation with our ladies and gentlemen, we say that for every one lady or gentleman that we hire, we have 90 applicants for that position. And then when we go through our in-person meetings, it's really seeing the passion and the energy that a lady or gentleman has for service. And I'll always tell our ladies and gentlemen in orientation, I'll always say, you know what, we can teach you how to check in a guest, we can teach you how to serve a guest, we can teach you how to service a room, but there's one thing that we can teach you to do, and that's to care. So we look for ladies and gentlemen who truly care about the guest experience and also working in a team environment, because it's not only important about how that lady and gentleman looks after our guests and creates our, you know, that experience for them, but what type of colleague are they to work with? Because everything that we do, it all comes from teamwork. We've got 550 ladies and gentlemen that work together to create amazing experiences for our guests. So I really look for that passion and that energy when they're talking about service, when they're giving me examples. I look about how animated they are, and then I try to envision them working as part of the team that they may be potentially going into, or how are they going to interact with the guests and create an amazing experience for them.
Awesome. Question from the classroom. Yes.
I have a question for John. As being in the restaurant business where there are so many people that are experimenting and flipping the script on food, what are some things that you do to stay relevant?
Because people are looking for different concepts at all time, or they're, you know, farm to table is big today, gluten is not yesterday, that type. I mean, you have to keep up with it, you really do, but you can't be all things to all people. I think you said find your niche. A lot of places find your niche, what you do very, very well. Stay relevant, but you can't be all things to all people every day. So you can't change just because we're eating chicken whatever today. You know, the tastes and the trends change so quickly. You can't let one pass you by. You can't say, well, craft beer is nobody's going to bite on that, right? But you can't jump on everything that comes down the pike. You have to have your core that you go for, and that's what you build your whole concept around. But you have to pay attention to what's going on. Some things don't work for you. I mean, not everything works for every restaurant. So you have to look and say, well, is that relevant to what I'm doing? Is my clientele looking for that? So you have to keep an eye on it.
Let me piggyback off your question. We were expecting another restaurant owner to be here as well. You don't engage in the catering side, I don't think. Some restaurants do, I assume, to diversify, to supplement their income. Any thoughts of why you've never engaged in catering, or why some do?
I have done catering in the past. It's a tough. I mean, you need to either go all in for catering, or it's not a part-time. It's not a let's try this. You've got to have the staff for it. You've got to have the facilities. You've got to have the kitchen. If you can't do it 100%, you shouldn't do anything. You shouldn't do something as a part-time revenue source. You really can't. And a lot of ours became, hey, can you do this? My wife's third cousin's getting this, and we'd like to do it for $5 a head. No. and I can't say no. It's a big problem I have.
Elliot, can I piggyback on that?
Absolutely.
Just going back, since you did try the catering, what was the most challenging part to coordinate that with Henry and Oyster Bar and trying to cater?
A lot of
Besides trying to please everybody.
Right, a lot of us saying no because the menu, will it travel properly? Or, I mean, it's not our menu. So you have to come up with a separate menu. That brings in a whole complete different list of items you bring into your kitchen that you're just bringing for catering. So if you're not gonna do it 6 days a week or 7, then you're bringing product in. And I don't have the kitchen set up for catering as well. Now, I don't know if you've heard that they're doing ghost kitchens and things like that for Uber Eats. And so that there's several, if somebody has 7 restaurants in a town, it's easy to do a ghost kitchen. So all Uber Eats goes out of one kitchen. It's not bogging down their kitchen. If I start bogging down my kitchen to put out a catering event, then all of my guests sitting in the dining room are behind. So it's go all in or don't dabble.
Now, maybe I'll add a piece to that. About this time last year, we hosted, actually, towards the end, we hosted CONCACAF U20 soccer event. We had 42 different countries from Central America and North America in. Our guys, as we were taking this on, we realized, because we feed about 1,000 students a day per meal, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. But we have a whole individual kitchen set up and outlets and such on campus. And our guys said, "Oh, well, this is something we'll do in-house." Okay, and that was just kind of an easy, oh, we can make this happen and we'll do it in-house. So to get to the point of, as John's talking about, is you're talking about staff, you're talking about equipment, you're talking about operation, you're talking about coordinating, and Damien knows it as well. So all of a sudden, we were tasked with, we put up a 15,000 square foot tent. We had to have seating for 1,000 soccer players, coaches, and such. And then we had to create a mobile kitchen. So we brought in convection ovens, we brought in flat top, we brought in anything. We couldn't bring in steamers, couldn't find any steamers. And then we had to find staff and crew and people to work 5 o'clock in the morning to like 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and then like 12 o'clock to 10 o'clock and all that. And trying to find that staff was challenging just in itself. And so as you kind of create and try to put all these pieces together, everybody sort of goes, oh, catering for 300 or catering for 200, well, not a problem. Put some stuff together, get it out. But then all of a sudden, when you really look and go, okay, everything that's going to be entailed in how do I do this, and how do I do it right, not just do it, but how do I do it right, all falls into that equation. And we had I can't even remember the size of the generators we had and such, and that powered up our kitchen, powered up the tent, and then you go into the very first day where at 6:30 we open up for breakfast, and we've got X coming for the next 3 hours, and the one generator doesn't work, and that's the generator that didn't power up the kitchen. So now you look and go, okay, get the sterno out, fire up the hot boxes, get the flat top, get the, because nothing else is really working, and you had to go from plan A to plan B and hope that God that plan B got you through the run. You have the similar kind of concepts and situations with catering. It's a tougher gig than people really realize it is. And the folks that can do it right, Michael Klauber and Phil and those guys that do it right with Michael on East and so, it's labor intensive and equipment intensive, and it takes a lot of preparation planning.
And where my concept doesn't fly for that is I'm value for dollar at the restaurant, so I've got my costs already covered at the restaurant. My wife chaired a gala, and she called the caterer from the prior year, said just add 5% and I'll be happy to do it. And I looked at it, and it was $97 a head. And I just went, oh, that's stupid. We can do that for 40. And then I started doing all the math on tables, chairs, linen, blah, 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 blah. Bringing in a portable kitchen, bringing all that in. and they were barely making money at 97. I mean, they're doing okay, but so you look at it, you're like, so I'm going to go to my guest who's paying $20 a head to come in and eat and drink at my restaurant, and then I'm going to tell them it's going to be 60, 70, 90 bucks, and they're like, but I want oyster bar food. I'm like, yeah, but by the time you put a table and everything, catering's expensive. It truly is. And even someone in the business, I'm like, oh, it's not that much. Yeah, it is. Yeah.
But it's safe to say that very few restaurants also cater.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's good reason for that. Another question from the classroom. Yes.
Well, so we talked about Visit Sarasota and the tourist tax. My question was resort fees. Do you guys feel that these fees are sometimes deceptive? There was a ruling in Ohio.
Absolutely. Oh, sorry.
So I guess this would be for you, Mr. Damien. We talked about this business law. There's a ruling in Ohio that ruled these as deceptive. So do you have to start offering these as a la carte, or how would you do it if you're not unable to continue?
Answer that one.
Yeah, I actually don't think that that's deceptive, or they are deceptive. You know, for us, you can do it two ways. So we have our resort fee that includes internet access, that includes the beach, that includes paddle boards, it includes beach umbrellas, beach chairs. So there's a whole experiential piece. So we look at it all, and we look at the value of it, and then we offer that all included in a resort fee. So for our resort, that works very well. We're very transparent about it. If a guest wants to do it in a la carte pricing, so if a guest wanted to do the paddle boards, for example, and do the beach chairs and the beach umbrellas and the internet access, if you charge that all a la carte, it's a much bigger price than when you put them all in together as a bundle and you offer all of those amenities together. So we haven't had many issues with it, being very honest with you. We're able to offer a lot of amenities and a lot of services for the resort fee.
But I would like to make a comment to that. He has a beach, right? If you don't have a beach, resort fees are a problem, I think, because they give you wireless internet, and they give you the use of the fitness center, and some other couple little things that really don't matter. And so the question really is, as a guest, is a resort fee an added-on fee, and is it something that is a negative versus a positive? And if you're in downtown Washington, D.C., or you're in downtown Phoenix, Arizona, anywhere where there isn't a beach or an amusement park, the resort fee from the guest's point, I think they believe it's negative. And I think they actually think that it's, quite frankly, a little bit of a ripoff.
Juli, what are your thoughts with MainSail?
So I agree with both points, that when there is a valid reason for having a resort fee, it's because you don't want to be charging and collecting the guests for every little thing that they're doing. But in many times, we provide a tremendous amount of value for what is covered by the resort fee. Not everybody wants to use all of those pieces all of the time, but by charging a resort fee, you're not into always having your hand out and saying, and which is called nickel and diming, right? Nobody likes to be nickel and dimed, but there's a real cost for some of the additional services that we're providing. Where it's gone astray, and what's caused a lot of the concerns is where you have, and it may not just be the beach, there might be other amenities that may go along with it, but where you get into a property that clearly is a business-oriented property where you may not have the leisure guests, or you may not, the majority of your guests are not there for the purpose of experiencing all of the additional amenities. That's where it's gotten, I think, as an industry, it's gotten us into some trouble. But as long as there's a very valid reason for it, I think it does provide a better experience for the guests than having your hand out and charging and collecting for everything that's done.
Jocelyn, you had another question?
Yes. What's your opinion on the phrase, the customer is always right, and how do you handle a situation when they're not, without actually saying you're not right?
We don't say that at the Oyster Bar. We don't. We've never said the customer's always right. We say that the customer is never wrong, right? The customer's not always right, but they're never wrong, right? Why do you want to argue with a customer when you know you're 100% right? It doesn't matter, right? So our whole thing is, what can we do to make it right for you? That food was cooked perfectly in my guy's eyes, the guest didn't think so. Are they wrong? Yes, it was cooked perfectly. Does it matter? Absolutely not. So customer's not always right, but they're never wrong. So in their opinion, that food was not prepared the way they were expecting. And I mean, I have people come in and order things they've never eaten in their life and didn't like it. Should they pay for it? Yes, they absolutely should. Do they? No. Because you want to make sure that their experience was awesome. So the customer's not always right, but they're never wrong.
But perception's reality. And exactly to your point, the customer is not always right, but they're never wrong. It's their perception of what is right and what is wrong.
Absolutely. They're right in their mind.
And so that's another thing you should take with you. Perception is reality. It may not be correct, but it is really reality.
Yeah.
There's another saying too, and I'm probably gonna mess it up, but it's, if you can live with it, I can live without it, right? So if I'm the business owner and you're the guest, and I think you're cheap, there are people that take advantage of the system and they'll try to get something for nothing when it's really not, there was not really a problem, but they'll try to. And so if we take the approach, you know what, if you can live with it, I can live without it, it's okay. And that's one of the things that we talk about in our team as well.
And so at any business, what percent of people, guests, customers are we talking about right now?
Yeah.
Less
Like
than
this.
0.1%, right? And that's what we spend all our time and energy on. Move on to the next one. Make sure they're happy when they leave. Do everything you can to make sure they're happy. Most people the next day will say, man, what an ass I was last night to that server. You know, she did everything she could to make me happy.
Or their spouse will say that.
Exactly. But it doesn't, move on. We concentrate so much on 1/2 of 1 millisecond of a percent. That's what I tell my managers all the time. It doesn't matter if they beat us or we beat them, or that's not the goal. The goal is that they're happy, that they realize they really tried. They absolutely care about me, even when I'm an ass. So that's what we work on. Forget about it. Move on to the next one. I tell the staff that, the servers, they'll worry up and get all upset about a tip. I mean, you didn't come to me when you made a 30% tip and, you know, jumping up and down. You come to me when you made 10%. Forget about it, or your next table will be the same. So let's don't worry about the vast minority.
And I think as well, sometimes when you're dealing with a guest opportunity, we don't call them guest problems, I like to call them guest opportunities, because it's an opportunity to make it better, right? And I think with that you can really build guest loyalty. You know, some guests, they have an opportunity, or things were not to their expectation. So for us, it's always sincerely apologizing, making sure we focus on the first person problem resolution, because you don't want a guest to have to talk to 3 or 4 people because they're displeased with something or didn't meet their expectations. It's you sincerely apologize, how can I resolve it, and then making sure that you win that guest's loyalty and make sure that that guest becomes a guest for life. And I think that's not only us at the Ritz-Carlton, I think that's every business, is that, you know, guests have so much choice. And, you know, we find ourselves to be very fortunate when a guest becomes loyal to our brand and our company. And how do we continue to drive that loyalty with that guest? So I hear what you're saying, and sometimes you will hear people with that mindset. But as John said, it's the guest is never wrong. If the guest perceived that something was not done correctly or not done to their liking, well, we're there to anticipate their needs and deliver exceptional service to them. So to meet their expectations, we need to ensure that we apologize. We need to make sure that we make it right and that we win back their loyalty.
Question? Yes, sir.
May I return to TM Ritz-Carlton? How to maintain the Ritz-Carlton service standard all the time?
Well, we're very fortunate. We have a lineup every single day with our ladies and gentlemen, and we are opening our 100th Ritz-Carlton in Perth in the next 2 months. So when I joined the company, we had 33 Ritz-Carltons. Now we're going to have 100. So every day we have our commitment to quality, and we talk about that every single day in lineup. So every department, the ladies will get together and gentlemen will get together and spend 10 to 15 minutes. We talk about our philosophy and our gold standards, our service values, and then we'll also talk about a topic of the week. And we have over 66,000 ladies and gentlemen in the company, whether it's in the Ritz-Carlton Hong Kong or the Ritz-Carlton in Berlin or the Ritz-Carlton Sarasota. Everybody is talking about that topic of the week, and everybody is talking about that gold standard or that service value. So I think that's a big part of our culture and what we do. And then it's also just making sure that you're always driving excellence. You're always driving the experience with every interaction that you have. And it's not only your interactions that you have with the guests, with your guests in the front of the house, it's also the interaction that all of our ladies and gentlemen have together in the heart of the house. So it's important that our service delivery is consistent, and we remain laser focused on it all of the time. I think that's very, very important.
Who picks the topic?
Our corporate office will pick the topic, and then we've got our gold standards and our service values, so they'll rotate out every single day.
And you said turkey tree? Is that right? Turkey tree?
Turkey tree and turkey.
Turkey tree and turkey.
Damien, I won't let you sit near him the next
There's a great bar of turds and turkey turds.
Yes. These people bid higher than you.
I'll bring my checkbook the next time.
Dr. Valerie, you know, as students, sometimes we don't focus on areas that we need polished as individuals. When you get students right out of the gate, are there some areas that you're consistently seeing that really need polished before they really see academic success or success as an employee?
We work with a tremendous number of businesses, and often what we hear, and we touched on a little bit with the technology and how important that is in our lives, and how it has become so convenient to get things done. One of the biggest things we hear from our businesses as we prepare students to go into the workforce is that they have the soft skills, the communication skills, and one of the number one things is please build team building and how to work with other people. And you're hearing it back and forth in all of the industries on having personal relationships, not only within your staff to have a family environment where there's trust and communication, but how to be able to work with other people, how to resolve conflict, how to help the angry customer at the desk. And those are some of the biggest things to work on, is to really polish the communication skills and the personal skills with the people that you work with on a daily basis. So technology is great, but if you spend a tremendous amount of time on that, you lose that personal contact. And I think this kind of goes all the way back around from the importance of technology, but you can't lose that interpersonal communication and interpersonal relationships with individuals within your company and your customers.
Because technology is a tool.
It is.
Right?
It's a tool.
It's not the end result.
Correct.
It's a tool.
Ken, ask you a question. You run multiple hotels. You have a staff. How important is it that your staff knows what they're getting in you every day, that consistency? And if you're not consistent with your personality traits, is it detrimental to your organization?
Well, you hear the term all the time thrown around, service culture. And you can't have service culture unless you have good training. Damien's company has great training. That's why they have a service culture. So we hear a lot of hotel owners and operators talk about service culture and creating teamwork and working together and making sure that you take care of the customer. You cannot have that without training. So you have to have training throughout your program. The other reason you need training is because you have about a 40% turnover, which what we call the churn. So you have new people coming in, people that are consistently working with you, and you have to get them sort of together, working together. So service culture is probably a very difficult thing to achieve, but something you should always try to achieve.
You're a leader in your organization. Could you give them some examples of the kind of leader that you are for your company?
Well, I think hands-on leadership is very important. They need to know who you are. They need to see you. Sometimes I look at sports as a business. So the coach can't be the person sitting up in the box calling them plays. Bless you. The most effective coach is on the sidelines, watching the team, and making sort of like audibles on what's occurring. So I think you have to be in front of the team, you have to let them know that you're part of the process, and you have to make sure that your general managers at your hotels are really good at what they do. Because if they're not, you'll have a problem at that one hotel.
John, you're a leader of the Anna Maria Oyster Bars. I'm being very sincere. You're a fun-loving guy. You joke around. What makes you that leader that people want to work for you?
So this morning on the way to the meeting we had at 9 o'clock this morning, I met my GM at one of my stores. There's no one else in the store but me and him, or he and I, however you say it. English wasn't a big, yeah, didn't do too well there either. So I get there at 8 so I can see it because I'm having a problem with him. He's not living up to where he needs to be. He's missing several things that have been transpiring. I want to have a conversation with him, just he and I. I don't want it in front of any of his people. I believe you praise in public, you reprimand in private. So I go there at 8 o'clock. He's scheduled at 8 o'clock. Guess what time he shows up?
He's late.
He's late, right? So we didn't have a really good conversation this morning, but it was just he and I, right? There were none of his assistant managers. There were none of his staff there. It was just he and I. And that's what I think is important. I listen to comedy radio and XM all day, every day. Why? Because I walk in with a smile on my face. I'm laughing. I'm in a good mood when I walk in the restaurant. Because if I walk in the restaurant mad at my GM, it permeates the entire restaurant. And the whole staff will just have a crappy shift because John's in a bad mood. So I listen to comedy radio, so I'm in a good mood when I walk into the restaurants. Because that's what I want. I want people to have fun. People go to restaurants to have fun. No one walks into a restaurant to have a crappy situation. They don't want bad food. They don't want bad service, right? No one goes to a place and says, you know what? I'm going to go to Joe's Diner because it sucks. The service is horrible. The food is horrible. No one does that. You go out to dinner to have a nice meal. So I want my staff in a good mood, right? I'm not going to walk in. And if I walk in a poor mood, everybody's in a poor mood. So that's what leadership is. And you need to be a positive leader. They also need to know that it's not positive and fun, and let me tell you the joke I heard on the way in the door. It's not that all the time. They know if they're not doing their job, they're going to get an 8 o'clock visit from John. And it's a good thing to be on time for those. Because it was worse, as you can very well imagine.
Damien, can you have a bad day at work, and would Ritz-Carlton Corporate condone a bad day from their GM?
You know what, ladies and gentlemen, I think we all have bad days, right? Everybody has a tough day.
My GM had a bad day
now
today.
and again. I didn't know you got up at 8 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, heck yeah.
So listen, I think we all have tough days, right? If we're all to be very honest, but it's about, you know, how do you kind of put things in different compartments? And what we always have to remember is that the impact that we have on our colleagues and our ladies and gentlemen and on our guests. And it's just so important that you're connected with your ladies and gentlemen, that you need to know what's going on in their world, and you need to know what's important to them. You need to be able to walk down the hallway, and if I'm passing John every morning, and good morning John, how are you? Good morning Damien. And then one morning he's a bit quieter, I'm like, oh, John isn't himself. You stop and say, John, is everything okay? Well, yeah, I just got this going on, or this is bothering me. So I think you have to be connected. Everybody has a bad day or a tough day. I don't think we'd be human if we didn't. But you got to make sure that you don't bring that to work with you. You know, you leave it in the car park. I always say to our ladies and gentlemen, when we turn up to work at the Ritz-Carlton, we have to be ready every single day to create excellence. We have to make sure we have our Credo card. We have to make sure that we have our name tag. We have to make sure that we have a smile, and we have to make sure that we have a winning attitude. That's what we need to do, and that's what we owe to our fellow ladies and gentlemen, and that's what we owe to our guests. But you have to have a relationship with your ladies and gentlemen and your team, and just like you do with your guests, if you were a repeat guest and they're not themselves, you stop, you ask them, you say, is everything okay? You don't seem yourself today. So we got to remember that we're all human. Everybody has a job to do, but everybody has a life outside work, and everybody has different things that go on outside of the workplace. And it's only natural that sometimes that is going to come in. Maybe somebody just got some very bad news. Maybe somebody's been ill. Maybe somebody's been in an accident. You know, you never know what's going on in their lives, so you always have to keep that in the back of your mind. But everybody needs to come to work every day to create excellence, but you need to have that connection to know what's going on in your team's lives.
Thank you, sir.
And I'm sorry I was late.
We've run out of time. We've run out of time. I'll close at this. You've heard some great wisdom up here. Like Ken said, stay the course. Give you a quick example. You may not want to take statistics, but you have to. Stay the course. Because when you pass statistics, it'll get you over that mountain to meet your objective. Okay? Focus on your surroundings. Study body language. Focus on yourself. I can promise you that Damien can see one of his customer concerns before they ever voice it, because he's constantly studying body language. Build relationships. Know the resources available to help you get your job done. And I promise you, you'll have a lot of success. Get to know these people beyond this panel session. It'll be invaluable. And I know in my heart you're around being taught by some of the best instructors in the world. God bless you all and all the success. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Brilliant. Thank you so much for doing this today. It's wonderful. And you know, if we had a couple of people had to leave already, they told me ahead of time. But if you do the math, there's probably over 250 years of experience and education up here. Think about the powerhouse that we've got on these panels. I go to these conferences, the American Hotel and Lodging, our own hospitality professors. This is probably one of the best groupings that I see happen. And I want to thank you all for your commitment to this program. It's fabulous. I also want to thank our Chancellor, Karen Holbrook, who came here today. It's great. I already thanked Brett. Okay, and for my class, next week's speaker, kind of interesting, his name is Art Berger, and he's Vice President of CHM Warnick. It's an asset management company, which we don't see too many of, and this is well, they're around, but he's big, and he's here for a conference in Tampa. He's going to come down and speak to you. So do your research on him. I'll have it up on the canvas for you, and it's great. And to Dr. Mystery's class, thank you for being so wonderful. And you're all in the intro class, and we want you to stick to this and stay with us. Give yourselves a hand, everybody.